Black women are under attack. In fact, 60 years after Malcolm X gave a speech on the treatment of black women, many still feel, rightly so, that they are unprotected, and they have the scars to prove it. I want to warn you right now, some of what you're about to see is disturbing. The most recent viral example of black women being unprotected takes us to Houston, Texas, where Ro Bosch took to social media to show her injuries. She says a man hit her in the face with a brick after she refused to give him her phone number. She said multiple men witnessed this and did nothing. You may also remember in July when R&B singer Monica stopped her Detroit concert, got off the stage so that she could protect a woman who she says was assaulted near the stage. Now, Monica says she saw a man hit the woman and she instinctively stepped up to defend her. And then there is this video that is so difficult to watch. In Chicago, a teenager shot a man who repeatedly punched his mother in the face inside of a restaurant. This happened as people, including men, stood back and watched. Some of the men even ran off when the assault started. Now, from the information available to us, we know two things. The victims were black women, and the perpetrators of the violence were black men. So whose role is it to protect black women who are being harmed, especially in public space? Joining me now to help unwrap the answer is relationship coach, author, minister, and TV personality, the Reverend Dr. Iyanla Vanzant. So good to see you. So great to have you on the show. Help me make sense of this. This case in Houston, a woman saying, she was hit with a brick, all these kinds of stories that we're hearing. How do you make sense of it?
You can't. Don't even try to make sense out of nonsense. It is the symptom of how far we are out of order as a community, how far we are out of order as individuals, the lack of character, and really the results of just the absence of culture and understanding in the Black community. Men have 4 P's: provide, protect, please, and perform. If they're not providing for us, they're not protecting us, they're not performing as men do, and they're not pleasing. I understand why Black women feel they're kind of out here on their own.
Now, some of the men in the comments online were saying, well, this is the product of sisters saying they want to be independent. They want to be able to make their own choices and determine their own lives. And y'all are so independent, these brothers are saying, that we don't feel not just the need to protect you, we don't feel like we're supposed to be protecting you anymore, that y'all don't want that anymore. What do you say to those people?
Well, there's a morsel of truth in there. But you got to understand that it's the result of women being disappointed so often. They've been disappointed and they expect to be disappointed. And then when they do trust, you see, if you won't protect my heart, and the way a man protects a woman's heart is to respect her feelings. But we've got new sayings. Oh, you just in your feelings. And then her feelings are dismissed. And if you don't honor and respect how she feels, then what'll happen is she'll become suspicious. She'll become afraid, and what she'll do is attack. So it creates this kind of tension between us because we're both out of order. We are. And when I say out of order, not living up to our divine purpose, not living in integrity within ourselves or with each other. So I'm not pointing the finger. I don't want to blame either one. But we've got to get this together because there are standards and expectations that women have of men, and there are standards and expectations that men have of women, and none of it is being clearly articulated. So we're just kind of out here blowing in the wind right now.
How much of those expectations are actually gendered? In other words, shouldn't we just have expectations of each other because we are people, and even because we are Black people? Do I have a specific responsibility because my gender is male to a woman, or vice versa? Because some people would say in this era that that's patriarchal, that we're trying to normalize male domination as opposed to just saying let's be good to each other because we're supposed to be good to each other.
Well, there are. Let me not say expectations. There are standards that are based on a broader universal and divine law that's grounded in culture. So if we're not grounded in divine law, if we don't understand spiritual principles, and if we are void of culture, then what are we doing? We've picked up standards and expectations from cultures and people that don't have our best interests at heart. So we're trying to live up to them. We use them when they work. We throw them out when they don't work. Again, we are blowing in the wind. We've got to get back to what is known in the broader sense as PIP. Purpose, integrity, and principles. Because those are the things that build character. And when you have good character, that means you treat people with kindness, with compassion, with respect. The respect is gone. But that's because we're living in a culture that wants us to live up to standards that are antithetical to who we are as people of color.
Now, one moment where I thought we were living up to some standards was this summer in Montgomery, Alabama, what some people are calling the fade in the water, when black men and women rushed to defend a brother who had been assaulted, you know. And I watched that, and I ain't gonna lie, I was proud. I had a tear in my eye. I was cheering. You know, I can't look at a folding chair the same way anymore. But I wondered, would the response have been different if a black woman had been assaulted? Would the whole community have rushed to to her defense? Because in some ways it feels like this imbalance you're talking about, the way we've pushed ourselves out of our center, it's not, for all of us, it seems like it's particularly happening toward black women.
Well, I think that it happens to black men, but it's covert. The assaults that black men take from the broader community are covert, and the men don't talk about it. You don't talk. We talk. We're going to tell it. If you come for me, we're going to talk about it. And isn't it, though, and I hear you about what happened. You know, I have a folding chair. I've got two, one in my garage, one on my door. You know, that's the new self-defense mechanism, is a padded folding chair. But isn't it sad that we have to resort to violence? That grown man working his job wasn't respected simply as a grown man working his job because of the color of his skin. And if we don't start talking about that, and not just talking about it, we talked about it till our lips are numb. We got to start doing something about it, calling people on it, and not calling them at first with the folding chair, but you know, we've got to call people on it. And Mark, we've got to train people how to treat us, which means we've got to treat each other better.
One last question before we run. Sometimes I worry that it's the internet, too. You know, I see fights break out. I see people being harmed. And the first thing people do is break out this phone. They don't go to help. They go to record it. Instead of having an intervention, they want content. You know, has social media corrupted us? Absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, the day after the young man was it Chicago, shot the man that beat his mother, after his mother told him to go get the gun, I asked the men, I go to an all male barbershop, and I asked them, I said, what would you do? You were there and you saw this man punch this woman in the face. Weren't there other men in the space? You know what they said? They said, listen, when these young people, you can't risk your life. You end up trying to help me.
Reverend Dr. Iyanla Vanzant, thank you for joining me. It's always so inspirational and wonderful to see you. Everybody, right now, Sun Salutations for the Soul is available. You can support by visiting IyanlasMeditations.com.